Hey guys, I just wanted to give you a quick intro to what's coming for this week's Bite Sized here and a little bit of an explanation. So, this is a conversation that Nate and I had the night of the Switch 2 Direct, not the reveal, but the actual Direct where it went into more detail on what the Switch 2 is and the games that came out. So, it is a couple weeks old, but the opinions that we share here I think they still hold up for the most part. We're still stoked, spoiler, on the release of the Switch 2, even if there's still some questions that we might have. Anyways, this was a part of our patron-only podcast, our Bro Hang, and we've pulled some from that, and so that is why it ends kind of abruptly. If you want some more of this kind of content where it's a little more off the cuff, check out our Patreon. If you join in for any amount, then you can have access to these kinds of materials, but we figured this was kind of a broad enough topic that we could release it as a bite-sized as well. So it's a little stilted, but I think you're going to enjoy it. So here we go.
Switch 2. Switch 2.
Breaking news.
Breaking bite-sized.
Switch 2 broke the internet.
Broke my brain. Like,
Because now there's two of them. It's not
there's
just
gonna
one.
well, not yet. In June 5th.
That's- Which, I mean, honestly, that was sooner than I expected. I mean, that's 2 months away, dude. Switch 2
Yeah.
in 2 months. So you've got 60 days to come up with 500 smackaroos.
Well, 500. Yeah, 500 is
Well, if you want a
probably
game, come
if you
on, you
want-
want a game.
But okay, and this is like, come on. Well, one, that is a pretty good deal. $500 for a Switch 2 and Mario Kart. Okay. No, especially since Mario Kart by itself is going to cost $80.
Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.
Kids don't like that.
No, a bunch of gamers in general don't like that. I have to spend money to play a new game. Oh. Shut up, you idiots.
Yikes.
Idiots.
Come on
I
out.
don't know.
Guns blazing, dude.
Don't you have backlogs?
Well, then why would you buy the system in the first place? Again, you need to buy a game. So
Listen, I'm going to buy it so that the games that I already own on Switch play better. Like,
do you think they'll
like-
natively play better? Just
I think more juice means just better.
Yeah.
Like even if there's not a patch,
Mhm.
like to so like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they're gonna do those like upgrade pack things,
Right.
or whatever. But I would just say like anything that kind of like I'm kind of holding out because like so I was thinking about firing up Astral Chain and just like banging that out.
for
But
sure.
I was like, if I could get a Switch 2, I'd like to see if that like because
oh man.
it did okay on my Switch when I was playing it, but it's like,
Mhm.
but with more juice, it could do better.
Mm.
Like it would probably just stabilize performance.
Sure. Yeah,
so-
I guess we'll see over the coming weeks what
Mhm.
list of games that they have that would be compatible. Well, no. Any Switch games are going to be compatible.
Any
with
Switch games are
2.
going to
Yeah,
be compatible,
Yeah,
but
never
like
mind.
it'll be interesting to see what gets optimized.
Yeah. Well, okay. No. That's right. They didn't say that every single Switch game will play on Switch 2, but I believe, at least from some reports, this stuff that they were talking
They didn't
about were
say
like,
that, but that's pretty much implied. like-
well, no, I mean they said they've used language that's like eligible Switch 1 games or something, original Switch games. They've used language to infer that not every single Switch game will play on
Well-
Switch 2, but it's generally games like oh my gosh, why can't I think of it? The cardboard Nintendo games. The ones like that
the weird
that are
gimmicky things.
yes,
even with-
that
okay, so
require other things.
Almost every PS4 game plays on PS5. I think
Okay.
last time I checked, there was like 10 games.
Okay.
And it was like
yeah.
sort of like, and even some of those they had fixed.
Okay.
To where, so it's
It sounds like a very similar situation. So I don't think you'd have any problem with Astral Chain. You're right.
I think it's just going to like, it's weird. that they didn't say, but it's like I think it. I guess I was like no, because I've read reports. It's like Switch games will work with Switch 2. Like that was like one of the information leaks. Now, we're gonna Google this live
Live on the air.
on the air. Will Switch games
Games compatibility
be
from
compatible for
Nintendo.
It says compatible physical and digital games. So yeah, there will be will all Switch games. Some Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah.
So which
So
ones? Like there
no,
will
this is
probably be some sort
directly
of list.
okay. Yeah, this is directly on Nintendo's website. There's a compatibility
Yeah,
page that was updated April 1st. Games that cannot be played on Nintendo Switch 2. The game is Nintendo Labo Toy-Con number 4, which is the VR kit. It cannot be inserted into the VR goggles accessory, so the game cannot be played. So there you go. That
is
is the
that
one.
that's the one. Okay. Yeah.
Now there are a couple lists here, games with startup issues on Nintendo Switch 2, and there's a PDF. And wow, okay, there's a number of games on this PDF. It does say that these issues are being investigated.
Yeah.
So some of the games that I'm seeing on
They've got
on
2
here,
months.
right, yeah. It looks like a bunch of these are third party. Oh, that's funny. Fortnite is one of those games, but it says that a Nintendo Switch 2 version is planned. Fitness boxing, Final Fantasy. Is that just the original? That's interesting. Doom Eternal. There's issues being investigated. So, anyways, it looks like there's just some
Yeah, but with Doom
astral
Eternal, they'll
flux, but
probably
not
just do a
astral chain.
Switch 2 version of that because that's
It could be, but these are also just startup issues. It doesn't sound like it's the end of the world. Yeah, these issues are being investigated. They're just coming out ahead of it and saying, "Hey, we recognize that there are some things here." Neither of these lists have Astral Chain on them, so you're good to go. Games that require Nintendo Switch Joy-Con to play. So these games cannot be played with Joy-Con 2 controllers. Ring Fit Adventure, 1-2 Switch, Everybody 1-2 Switch, Game Builder Garage. I forgot about that game. Nintendo Switch Sports, WarioWare, Nintendo Labo 1, 2, and 3. Okay.
so
Yeah. So really it's just those experimental Switch games.
dude, like here's the thing is like I was talking to
Mhm.
Parker about this earlier and then I was doing some reading and like all I am is stoked. All I am
Okay.
is stoked. Like
Yeah.
I was telling you before we started recording, I was like I am just like I'm just glad that Nintendo's like not like, "Oh, hey, we're just going to do our own thing over here." They're
Mhm.
like it seems like they're coming for Sony a little bit. And I'm like, "Yes, show us your teeth, baby." Like I'm
Nice.
like, "Do it. Scare them. Keep them up at night. Keep them honest and afraid." And I
Mhm.
love it. And like, dude, oh man, like this is like I like okay, like I liked my Switch and it was like I played some stuff on it, but like ultimately like I'm just too much of a performance snob. But like
Okay.
it's like this is a pretty potent little handheld,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, "Rah!" Like
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I will probably play more than Nintendo exclusives on this. Um,
Okay.
although there are some sick exclusives coming.
Heyo. Yeah, okay. So before we move to that, I do
Oh
just
yeah,
have to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
say, like, with the presentation, with this announcement, not the final announcement, but the actual announcement of the Switch 2 itself, dude, throughout this direct, right off the bat, they hit it off with performance. Right.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the people who are looking for a more powerful console, dude, right out of the gate, 120 refresh rate on the
1080,
handheld screen.
at 120
Yeah.
and then 4K 60
Yeah.
docked.
Well, it's
And I was
docked.
like,
Yeah.
what?
And they showed you the games. And okay, just a few days ago we had another direct, and one of the things that stuck out to me is like, this new Pokemon game like is looking rough.
Looks like
And
butts.
it's like it looks like a early Switch title is what I mean when I say rough. Not like, Pokemon is not that big a deal. Dude, they showed that same game today on the Switch 2, and I was like, this is what it needed to be. Like, this looks great. Like,
Yeah.
it's still, very highly stylized, childish, whatever, if you want to say that. But it's smooth and it's not jagged. yeah, I was like, this actually looks really good, I think. So
This
sorry,
does
what I was
not look
saying,
like butts.
right?
It looks sharp and
Hmm.
crisp, and those lines, they're
And I
so
didn't think, dude, I didn't
nasty. You
think I
could
was
cut yourself on them.
I didn't think I was a snob, but it's like I notice these things, and so I kind of hate myself that I notice it. But I'm like, oh yeah, that's really cool,
Well,
actually.
I don't think you're a snob. I think it's just like, especially when you see it side by like when
Uh
you're
huh.
playing Switch and you're just like you're happy because it's like it's fun, it's a good
Yeah.
time. You're like, oh, I'm
Yes.
having fun. Yeah, 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 good time. La 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 la. But then like you see what it could be,
Hmm.
and you're just like it's kind of like it is very
Yeah.
much like the Toy Story moment where it's like, I don't want to play with you anymore.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Like,
definitely some of that. So back to my original point. So they came out of the gate swinging with performance. The big game that they had teased before, Mario Kart World. Okay,
mhm.
that captured. So they're trying to appeal to those more performance snobs, the people who are not just casuals, but a step up from that. They're
Dude,
appealing to casuals because Mario Kart is like the casual game that's
but
sold gangbusters on Switch.
it's like it seems like they're kind of going in a little bit of a different direction, almost more sort of like an arcadey, like somebody somebody I was reading something, or maybe when Parker and I were talking a little bit about it,
Hmm.
where like it he said it sort of channels like a Gran Turismo, or no, Forza Horizon, which is like I
Yeah,
think like the arcadey version. And I'm like,
yeah.
yo, that's kind of sick. Like,
Well, one of the things that they said in the direct is like you could just go joyriding with your friends.
yeah,
Oh, okay. Like to me, that's very Nintendo. Is like grab a bunch of people online, whatever. They showed this video. You've got the video. You can see each other. You can talk to each other,
go
and
do
just like drive. Like
go do
that's
go-kart shenanigans.
yeah, yeah. Like GTA 5. This game. Like just go do stuff. Which
Mhm.
is very very out there for Mario Kart, which I do have to say I'm very glad to see, because that was my big thing about, okay, a new Mario Kart, what are you going to bring to the table?
What are you
Because
gonna
Mario Kart
do?
8 basically has it all. It's like, nope, okay, they're going a different direction. This is a very
There's
experimental title.
You
Uh
were
Very
wrong.
different. Yeah. They Nintendo'd up their own
Mhm.
Nintendo series, and like, yeah, it looks fun. So they're
Nintendo did it.
appealing. They did it. They did it. Going for the whole world. They appeal to the performance geeks. They appeal to their casual market with this
Mhm.
game, and they ended it, and they do this most directs, but they're showcasing third party games that are coming to
Mhm.
their system as
Mhm.
well. So they're showing like, okay, this isn't just a flash in the pan kind of a thing, which we all kind of expect, just based on how well the Switch is doing, that would happen. But to me, like, dude, they have their bases covered. Like, whether you're looking for sharper, better looking games, okay, they've got it. Whether you're looking for
Mhm.
casual games, okay, they've got it. Whether you're looking
Whether
for,
you're looking for a
y'all want to
sequel
play
to
all the
Bloodborne,
games.
if you're
Heyo,
looking for a sequel to Bloodborne, they
heyo,
got it. Like, dude,
heyo.
I have been in our Discord just like kind of being a menace. And
Yeah,
I
to
like
society.
when I so Parker told me about it, like, and I didn't get a
Hmm.
chance to watch the direct until later. And I didn't watch the whole direct. I just kind of skimmed through some stuff.
Okay.
But then but then I was like reading stuff and looking at screenshots, and I was like, yo,
Hmm.
freaking that Duskblood. That's Bloodborne too, folks. Like, I'm sorry. And it's like kind of egg. Like, and this is where I'm like, I think they're like, this is like messaging to Sony, like, hey, we're here to eat some of your lunch. Like, don't feel so safe being sort of like the big, like, sort of like hardcore market. Cause like, we've got a machine that can perform. Oh, and we've got a game that is essentially what some of your fan base has been asking for years. So, okay, like, dude, like the FromSoft Duskblood, like the FromSoft sort of console exclusive to Switch 2, like,
Hmm.
sick,
Yeah.
sick.
And I think strategically, it's positioned really well because they announced their Elden Ring Tarnished edition, so Elden Ring's coming to Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Duskblood isn't coming till next year. It's a 2026. So they're saying like, hey, we've got, this runway. And of course, you wouldn't release a console without that. But they're also
Mm-hmm.
signaling that like, we've also got stuff coming, so get your console. You know what I mean?
Well, with what I've heard is that one of the things that I've heard, like the rumors, is that the first quarter there's going to be an emphasis on first party titles, like
Okay.
first
Yeah.
party, like so the upgrades, and then second quarter, so holidays, like so first quarter is going to be July, August, September, October, November, December. There's going to like you're going to see a lot of the third party stuff really start hitting the market in force. Um,
Hmm.
and so the only problem is that price point for games is really rough.
Yeah.
Now,
So, sorry, before we jump to another topic, I do just want to say about Duskblood. Super hyped. I'm all here for it. I did notice in Nintendo's video for it, they call it a multiplayer game. And so that does make me curious, like, okay, does that just mean that you're summoning, some help to deal with bosses? Or does that mean this is Bloodborne version of Elden Ring Night Rain?
or it could be something totally different. I mean,
Right.
it could
It could.
be like here's the thing is like yeah, like I think there's precedent in the fact that every From game typically has like that sort of like multiplayer element where you can invade and you can
Mhm.
like do co-op. My only the only thing I want from this really is just make it so that the co-op isn't stupid. Don't make
Mhm.
it so that I have to like use this weird like I have to like offer a sacrifice of like shrunken fingers at this weird idol to summon my
Yeah.
friend in, and if we die, he just goes away and I use up a resource. Let's not do that. Can we not do that? Can we just say like, hey, like me and my dude, we want to like hop in the game together and we can just like party up and like roll through it together. Do you know what can we do that? Can we do that, Nintendo
Mhm.
or FromSoft?
Right. I think also that that's the whole cumbersome nature of trying to do multiplayer in those other games.
Mhm.
It's not just using an item to summon a random
Oh, dude,
NPC, but like actually
no,
getting your
like
friend
to
in
do
on the
do your
game
friend,
is
you got to like do some
jump through
weird like
hoops.
you got to like go to this particular altar over here
Mhm.
and like then set it up and then use this thing but like set the code and
Mhm.
this is
Yeah.
stupid. This is
Yeah.
stupid. Like don't
Yeah.
do that. Don't do that from software. Like if you hear this, please. Like if the only thing you hear is like if that's what your multiplayer consists of,
Mhm.
don't do that.
Well,
That's a
right.
bad
And
idea. That's a dumb thing and it's a bad idea. Don't do it.
that's what I'm saying is with Duskblood, it does seem as at least from that, just simply based on that. And if you go rewatch the video, you'll notice how often it's not just one player, but he summons someone else to help him.
Mm,
And it because honestly, there's not that much gameplay in it. Like it's all in game is what it looks like, or at least most of it is in game. But in
mhm,
terms of game, a lot of it is like watching character models and of enemies and bosses and things like that, which looks super cool. Don't get me wrong. The armored guy shooting around in a jetpack is crazy. But it does. That's the only thing that gives me pause is like how drastically different is this going to be as a multiplayer game? Frankly, if it is a multiplayer game, I don't think that's going to be an issue of like joining your friends. I'm just wondering, like, okay, but then how different is this going? Like, is this going to be a looter? You know what I mean? Is this going to be some weird? I don't know. And
mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean the
how
thing
far
is
away
like
from Bloodborne is it actually? We don't
yeah,
know.
we don't know. We
But
don't know.
again, I'm all here for it. Like I'm super stoked.
Yeah, yeah,
Love
dude.
Bloodborne. Love the fact that the
I'm
insane fact that this is a console exclusive on a Nintendo console that was announced at the same time their console was announced. Like that is so
well the price point was announced
That's
because we
insane.
did get that quarter of like, no, it's coming and this is what it looks like. Here you
Yeah.
go. And there will be more details in April. And then we got the details and everybody's like, this is the thing. It was like, I'm the way people are losing the way I am losing my mind today
Mhm.
was like when like I think that's what we wanted like a month or two ago when they're like,
Sure.
"Oh yeah, it's a real thing and this is what it looks like."
Yeah.
It's like I'm like, "I don't care about that." Like I don't I'm like, "Okay, like
Oh,
cool."
it helped a little bit. I mean, there were so many rumors swirling. They had to
Y-
say something. No,
you're
I'm
right.
I'm
They had
glad
to
they
say
did that.
something. I'm glad they did it too, but it was like it was also kind of one of those things where it was like, "Okay." Like it
Yes.
wasn't it was like cool. Like but it but this was like, "Yo, like,
Right.
like, if
Right.
I hadn't been doing my job and carrying mail, I
Uh-huh.
would have jumped up on a desk like Invader Zim and shrieked out, "I have a mighty need." Like, I was and, like, for people who like, my thing is, like, I liked my original Switch, but, like,
Mhm.
it just was, like I just kinda hit a point where it's, like, it was I just felt like I was enduring those games. Like I was like
Mm.
persevering through those games and there's sort of like not great performance sometimes
Mhm.
versus actually like really wanting to be there. And now that you've got something where it's like those rough edges, like those sort of like those catches are going to be not a problem. Like I'm stoked. And I think for the first time, like I cannot understate how excited I am for the Switch 2.
Mm.
Like I want one. I want one and I will I mean, barring like the end of the world or whatever, I will
Mhm.
have one by the end of the year. Unless like, something really awful happens.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I'm going to use tip money, like birthday whatever. Like I'm getting one this year, right?
Mhm.
Um so there are a couple other things that need to happen or we need to address first, but um
Sure. Yeah, because it is quite a bit more expensive than their last outing. You know,
I
it's a
mean,
pricey little boy. And
yeah,
I do think that that is going to affect sales, um, at
but see,
least maybe
like,
not
dude,
when
this
it first
thing,
releases because there's hype. Like
I,
all the people who want the new stuff, the new and the shiny, are gonna jump in because that's what
so
happens with every
the
console
front
launch.
edge, yeah, like you're gonna have the early adopters and
Yeah,
the core enthusiasts. They're gonna like that's an easy mark. But I think too, it's like it's when you look at okay, and here's what I would say: it's like people are like, it's $450, it's gonna fail. Like, okay, um, this thing, is comparable to a Steam Deck, and a Steam Deck
sure,
is more than that. Um,
sure.
and it's going to be backwards compatible with your pre-existing Switch library for the most part.
Hmm.
I'm just like, dude, and it's sort of on par. It's not quite, but it's sort of on par with current gen stuff. It's a little bit behind it, but it's not like the Switch versus PS4 sort of performance disparity. This is like this thing is basically a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X in your
Hmm.
hand. And those are pretty good pieces of hardware. Like it's going to run Cyberpunk. It's going to run Elden Ring. It's going to and they're really leveraging sort of like the I forget what the tech is. We talked about. I think it's called DLSR, but I'm not 100%. But like the where it sort of it uses AI to basically sort of like cheat better frame rates. That's where
Hmm.
you're getting I'm and this hasn't been confirmed, but I think that's where you're getting your 1080 120 and your 4K 60 from is
Hmm.
that that's more of a software thing. Now it could be because this is sort of a more mature tech that they've just found the way like basically they can sort of like really just take advantage of everything going on there.
Sure.
um so it could be that it's just like it's sort of this tech is matured like and that people really know how to utilize some of this the older frameworks to greater extent. Who knows? Like that sort of things. Like until I see some more information about it, I'm not willing to. But it's like the fact that it's like essentially a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X in a handheld form factor.
Mhm.
I mean, like, dude, sick.
Yeah.
Sick. And the Joy-Cons too, even like the Hall effect sticks in the Joy-Cons. So you're not gonna have to worry about drift,
Mhm.
you know. Anyways, I'm just like,
Look,
this is not in my wildest dreams. Did I like here's the thing. I did not expect this from Nintendo.
yeah,
And
I agree.
that's
Mhm.
that's what got me because I was
Yeah.
like, and I said to you, I was like, they are here to play. Like,
Mhm.
this is like, if Sony is not a little nervous right now, they should be, because
Yeah.
I think the Switch 2 signals that, like, because there's been this whole thing like during the Microsoft ABK acquisition, like antitrust stuff. It
Mhm.
was like they were like, people were like, what about Nintendo? And like the common sort of phrase was like, the common rhetoric, like, or response to that was that Microsoft and Sony don't really look at Nintendo as a competitor, because Nintendo kind of does its own thing over here. It has its own
Sure.
market. And all of a sudden it's like Nintendo's here, and it looks like they're ready to, like, sort of, well, invade, infringe upon that sort of, like, like, they're sort of looking at the boundary, and they're saying, I'm like,
We can
I'm
pick up some of those third party sales,
we
you
can
know?
do some of this. We
Yeah.
can do some of this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like we can be a bit of a performance machine. Oh,
Yeah.
like, we're, and it's like all of a sudden I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Like
How about
Nintendo, they're showing. I guess what I'm saying is, like, they're showing that they're ready to compete.
yeah.
And
Ho
that has me just like, I'm like, they showed up and they're showing teeth, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I am here for it. I am
How
so freaking, oh,
how about those
oh.
G buttons on the Pro controller? Like,
I
that
didn't I
definitely
didn't look at the Pro
signals.
controller yet.
Oh,
So that
okay,
was
so
like,
there's extra triggers on it.
oh, are
There's
those the
Z
programmable macro ones?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, on the
I
backs
did
of those
hear
Pro
about those.
controllers. Yeah.
I did hear
Yeah,
about those. I
so,
haven't seen them.
and, like, I've never played with anything like that. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think that's doing exactly what you're talking about, signaling that, like, "Hey, guys," like, we can compete, like, we can play. Like, we will take your games that that third parties are putting out everywhere, and we are going to,
We're
like,
gonna
be a
eat into some of
competitor.
that, like, yeah, we're gonna eat into some of that, like, you know, Sony is probably feeling pretty comfortable with Microsoft having basically seeded the sort of like the more premium console sort of ground,
Right.
and all of a sudden, like, I'm like, be nervous, because
Mhm.
like Nintendo's here and they're gonna eat some of your lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Like,
so going back to the discussion about the price, I completely agree with what you just said, that Nintendo has, like, I'm very surprised with Switch 2 and all that
I
it
guess this
offers.
is what I'm saying is, for 450, I don't think that's, like, people are like, oh, it's, I think that's a deal. I think it's a steal,
It,
practically.
yes, I think it is very expensive, but I do think that there's a lot of value that you're getting from it, which is weird for me to say because I'm a cheap guy.
Because
Put it that way. Uh,
it's like,
I don't spend
you
money.
wouldn't, yeah, you don't spend money. Um, yeah.
But I do, like, and I did not imagine that something costing $450 or $500 to, just to get in. I would not imagine thinking before today. I did not think that there was anything that Nintendo could announce that I would be like, oh yeah, I'll spend $500 on that. But now that I'm seeing it, it's like, okay, I agree. There's like that. When I saw the buttery smooth Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on this thing, I'm just like, dang it,
Mm,
man. I think they have me. And that we won't even talk about how emulation has done that before. So I'm glad that I never dipped my toes into Switch emulation. But again, we
mhm.
won't talk about that. It looks really good. What I will say though is that I do think it is going to, well, I think Nintendo's going to have to play it, be flexible in the future, because what I do think is that because the price point is so high, which again I think it's a value for what you get, but because it's so high, I think it is going to scare away a lot of the casual market that they have right now. A lot of the moms looking for something for their kids, just to buy it outright. This is this is the big thing under the tree at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
It is not like oh, hey, it's your birthday, you've been looking for one of these Switches, right? The
Yeah.
way that like the Switch Lite was, there is no equivalent on the Switch 2. So if
This is
Nintendo
like
plays it flexible and they find a way to make a smaller version, maybe a 60 hertz version, the light version for $200, like,
I
dude,
don't
that's
think
gonna,
that's
well,
I don't
I
think
mean, that's not
that's
gonna happen for a long time.
and
Like
I
the
think
initial hype is still coming.
yeah, that sort of like that second SKU,
Mhm.
like where you get like the light version of the Switch 2,
Yeah.
um, that's years down the road,
Mhm.
and that's
Mhm.
but I don't know, man. Like, and I guess it's just one of those things. I think it's like one of those things where you're right. I think it is going to maybe nip into the casual market,
Mhm.
but the thing is, the Switch, just base model Switch, isn't going away. There's going to be a lot
Right.
of like cross gen stuff. There's a lot
Yep.
of support still for
Yep.
OG Switch, so it's not like it's just like. But I don't think it's going to be as big a detriment as some people anticipate,
Mhm.
mostly because again I'm like looking at it and it's like you look at the Xbox Series X, you look
Mhm.
at the PlayStation 5, both of those are running $500 and or more, you
Right.
know.
Right.
um and for $500, like, you get a Switch 2 and a game,
Mhm.
like a full game. um so yeah, I don't think, yeah, I think, like, honestly, I think probably too, they probably, it just, this is me. I think they probably wanted to hit that 400 price point,
Mhm.
but I think for what's in that, it's like that was probably flying a little too close to the sun as far as like eating into. Nintendo has a philosophy where they're like, after the GameCube, they're like, we're not losing money on hardware ever
Mhm.
again, right?
Mhm.
And I think that was, they were just like, they were either, it was going to cost it either it just cost more than that, or it just was like the margins there were just like too tight. And then
Mhm.
especially in the fact that like we're coming off of like we're a pretty, inflation is pretty nasty right now.
Mhm.
And so, and it doesn't seem like we're really coming out of this recession thing anytime soon. So
Right.
it's like you probably want to build in a little bit of a buffer there.
Mhm.
Because I think if they thought that they could get away with a $400 price point and not have to eat anything on that, they probably would have done that.
Mhm.
This way, I think they have sort of like basically sort of made this thing a little inflation proof.
Mhm.
Um, so that
Yeah.
if the market continues to kind of like suck,
Mhm.
you know, and does get worse, uh, yeah, it's not going to hit them as hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do, even just as you're talking about the value and pricing and things like that, I will say that one of the advantages that Switch 2 has, that I think they've been very strategic about is, and don't get me wrong, like Sony has done this, I believe in some fashion, Xbox has done this, but having one, it's backwards compatible, so you'll have a bunch of games to play day one. Okay. But also the upgraded versions, they have a path for upgrading older
Mm-hmm.
games on your Switch 2, so you don't have to drop the $80 or whatever it is for a new game if you just want something to play kind
Yeah,
of day one. Like you want that glistening, beautiful 120 hertz Tears of the Kingdom. Like, hey man, give us $20 or whatever that upgrade path is. If it's
yeah.
something like $50, I will be upset at Nintendo.
Well,
But
the what I was doing some reading is if you have the Nintendo Switch Online, was it
mhm,
Plus, or what they call it, expansion pass or whatever, like the
yeah,
the the second tier of that, um I believe that those upgrades are just included. um
really,
yeah,
that's a stinking bargain, dude.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
that makes
That's
it
awesome.
like that by I mean, like, here's the thing, like they could have, I think there's a world in which like, and listen, I make no bones about the fact that I've said this about Sony. It's like I think we have a market that's very used to sort of getting those updates for free,
Hmm.
but I do think like when a manufacturer, um, they talk pretty someday, but like those even those that represents an investment. Like they had to go
Hmm.
back, they had to re-optimize the software, and it's not a major, like it's a pretty like low lift kind of thing, but it doesn't just magically happen. Like it takes money, it takes resources, it takes time. And so I do believe that these companies are justified in sort of charging some to say like, "Hey, we've made this thing better." I also think it's kind of like a Giga Chad King move. Yes, I use that to be like, "Hey, here it is for free." Like that's a lot cooler. But I also think that like if you're just like, "Hey, it's 10, 15, $20 to upgrade this so that you get like the super dope version," I think that's fair.
Hmm.
I don't think that's insane. I don't think it's outrageous to sort of ask people to pay for the work that you've put into improving something.
Sure.
Um, so that's like I said, I think there's a case for both sides. But yeah,
Hmm.
and it's like you said, I think that really does add value to that Nintendo Switch Online service.
Hmm.
It and again, I had read something and I couldn't remember if it specified the expansion pass Pro plus whatever thing
Yeah.
or if it was just NSO. I imagine it's the
It's the
bump up.
expansion pack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now on IGN's website. Some upgrade packs, like the upgrade to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, will be included
Mhm.
in the NSO expansion pack membership. That is
Like
crazy.
they did that with the Animal Crossing DLC. It was like,
Right.
hey,
Animal
if
Crossing
you have the
and Mario Kart 8 tracks,
yeah,
because that's the
it's
only
like
reason I have them.
yeah, it's so I'm just saying like, and I think that like adds value to that tier. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, and you
It's
said it,
crazy.
and I kind of took a shot at it earlier. The only sort of negative, and I don't think and this is just, and again, this is something that I've been talking about for a while now, but like the price of games,
Mhm.
and games are going to be new games $80. Like, and it's kind of weird because when you're looking around on it, it's like there are some that are showing like $60, $70,
Mhm.
$80, like sort of in like these pre-orders. And I was actually texting back and forth with Parker earlier tonight, and I said like, just I'm not willing to say much more than, like, I've also seen this thing where it's like it's going to be $90 for a physical version. There's also this game key card thing that sort of like is floating around that's like, so it's just weird. There's a whole lot of questions, and until we see these things on shelves for purchase, or like, on storefronts for purchase, but like I don't I'm not really willing to get too into the weeds about like pricing and other models or anything like that, because
Mhm.
I think like the thing is like we've seen some numbers but we don't know how it's going to work yet. Apparently not every game is going to be $80. So,
Right.
but um but and I guess like what I'm saying is like, I know that seems like a lot of sticker shock, but like the reality is, and I was having some conversations earlier. I was like, there's two things going on here. One, again, the aforementioned inflation, where like our economy is kind of like in the pits. And in the pits is a strong word, but it's like we've all noticed that the price of everything has gone up. And those costs are like manufacturers, like developers, like everybody's feeling that, industry and individual consumers.
Sure.
So they're probably covering some of that. But the other part of this is that just the cost of game development has been ticking up and ticking up and ticking up. And I think this is just sort of a signal. And like I've told people, I'm like, I think this is a signal. I think like Like these things don't sort of happen in a vacuum. And again, Nintendo sort of does its own thing, but I'm pretty sure Sony and Microsoft knew this $80 price point was coming. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of these major like the third party devs knew this $80 price point was coming. And dude, we're going to see GTA 6 this year. I'm telling you that thing's going to be $100.
Yeah.
If it's anything, it's going to be $100. And I guess what I'm telling people is like, and I know there's like a lot of people are like, that's so expensive. Again, I sort of come back to it's like, 20, 30, 40 years ago, we're paying $50, $60 for Final Fantasy 2, also known as Final Fantasy 4, or
Mhm.
$70, and it's like, because anyways, I can't, I saw a thing where like Final Fantasy 2/4, but we're paying $50, $60, right? The price of games went up like to $60 and stayed there for like 15, 20 years.
Mhm.
And it just hasn't kept up with like just the way that markets go, period. And so while I understand that that's uncomfortable, and when Sony sort of a few years ago was like, hey, we're going to start charging $70, like there was a lot of uproar. I'm actually really curious as to see whether or not how long this sticks around, because it's
Yeah.
Nintendo,
Mhm.
and I think they're kind of bulletproof. So I think like people are going to get over it a lot quicker because it's Nintendo.
Y- Well, and again, I just think it's the perfect time. And this again comes from someone who is a cheapskate and someone who does not like the idea of paying more for video games. But like, dude, you come all guns blazing with the new console, with the new hotness, like yeah, this is the time to do it. And granted, that's what Sony did with PS5, bumping it up by $10. I believe that was
Hmm.
with PS5. So like
I don't
it's
know if that was at the beginning of but yeah. But anyways, yeah, no,
and I mean Nintendo already tested the waters with Tears of the
with
Kingdom.
Tears, yeah.
Um which and frankly, like there are some games that like yeah, I mean it's totally worth it. You know, as much as I hate it, like yeah, Tears of the Kingdom was worth a premium price. I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is worth a premium price. These are enormous games that
Oh,
are
dude,
crazy good experiences. Anyways,
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on my Switch 2. Like if there's a performance pack, I'm gonna.
do,
Mm.
Nate, are you asking if Monolith Soft would create a performance patch for this thing? The guys who worked on Tears of the Kingdom and like every huge Nintendo game
It's just
ever?
it's not confirmed yet,
Yeah.
so I don't
Yeah.
want to like listen.
I
They
will
also
confirm
they
it
also
right
said
now.
that Silk Song is coming out this year, and I'm only
That's true.
believing that. Like I'm believing that when it
When I
happens,
see it.
when
Yeah,
when
exactly.
I have it on my PlayStation, that's when
Yeah.
I'm gonna believe that,
Well, note that
or
it's
on my
not
Switch
a
too.
yeah, it's not an Xbox exclusive anymore. Because didn't they say it was exclusive
It's
for a
well, no,
little?
it was gonna be.
Is it a timed exclusive?
I think it's day one Game Pass.
Oh, okay, okay,
They might
okay. There you go.
like Silk Song. I'm pretty maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So
whatever.
so I'm looking at Nintendo's webpage for Donkey Kong Bonanza, and it does have a $69.99 MSRP on Nintendo's
Hmm.
official page. So it does mean that the prices are variable for different games, which is in line with what Nintendo has done, at least with Tears of the Kingdom. Because I remember the uproar of like, oh no, Nintendo games are all going to be this, and that was not the case. They still come out with inexpensive games, drop the prices of
I'm
smaller
just
games as well, but
I
it's
think what I'm
still a
saying
bump.
though, I think this too is like you're going to see a lot more people now that this is sort of like this has been floated out there. You're
Yeah.
just going to start seeing games like and
Yes.
actually I think like here I'll just be honest. I think it actually would be a little healthier if we had variable pricing,
Hmm.
where it's like for fit like we see it in storefronts anyways, but even in just like digital storefronts, even in the physical market where we'd have a lot more variation and saying
Hmm.
like, hey, this is an $80 game. This is sort of like your AAA kind of like level polish or
Hmm.
experience, where it's like maybe a $60 or $70 game sort of falls into that AA experience.
Hmm.
Um, And even I'd like to. I think that actually would be really healthy for the market.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. It's just it's interesting, and again, to the people who I get it, like the thought of paying $80 for a new game is like, ooh, that's it is not it is not, that that feels bad. Like,
Mhm.
ugh, that feels real bad. But I think it's just there are a couple things that we've said about this, like this hobby, is that video games are a luxury industry. This hobby is a luxury,
Mhm.
and the pricing hasn't really kept up for a long time. And I think this is just course correction. Like,
Yeah.
I think Nintendo's just saying like, hey, yeah, this is what we're gonna do now because and I think like the thing is like Nintendo tends to be the most consumer friendly. So if they're doing it, like it I think it signals that like this is just a necessary change. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? So
To a
I
certain extent, I mean, I don't know what they're expecting from the launch. I mean, I'm sure they expect that MK World is gonna sell well, but how long
especially
it
since you
takes.
can get it like if you do
Right,
that
the
$500
$50 version.
bundle, you're
Yeah,
gonna save $30
that's
and
true.
so, and well, and even with it, like I wanted to touch on this. I wonder if MK World is going to move more into like the platform or games as a service kind of thing,
Mhm.
where there's going to be like like routine updates or whatever.
Right.
Like, they have avoided that thus far, right? But I would not be surprised if maybe we didn't see them sort of look at and and the thing is like I think I was actually again talking to Parker about this. I said I know it's like kind of like scary to think about them moving into that market and employing that model, but I think if any company would do it well, it would probably be them.
Okay, so two thoughts. One is that I disagree that this is going to be games as a service. I think I
I'm just
agree that they will be updates constantly because that's what they've done with MK8 and it's worked. They've
which
constantly been throwing more content into that game.
That's
More,
kind of that's kind of the games as a service model though. And
yeah,
I just wonder if
yeah,
they lean into that a little bit more,
sure.
where it's like you can buy cart packs
Hmm.
and things like that. And it's like, do you throw in maybe some of these microtransactions where it's like,
Yeah.
hey, like here's some cart skins or like,
Hmm.
character packs or something like that. And again, I'm wondering because this is sort of just I'm not saying they will.
Hmm.
I think that if they do make that move though, it won't feel as jarring.
Yeah.
Y-
I,
you
I
know.
would be surprised if they go that route because they have Mario Kart World Tour, which does that, which is their games as a service Mario Kart game on phones. They have that game where you can pay extra money for unlocking different things and things like that. So I would be surprised if there is a initial upfront $80 charge and then they continue to kind of nickel and dime you
Well,
down the road.
but I don't think it like it won't be. It'll just be like, hey, here's some extra cosmetics. Again, it'll
Hmm.
be sort of like, yeah, you can have this, but there's extras if you want to. I don't know. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's just I think I think if they do it with anything, it will probably be this.
Hmm.
Um,
I
I
can see where you're coming from. I would be very surprised if that's the case because the whole pack thing that they've been doing seems to be working really well. So you get a pack of new tracks.
mhm.
You get the 4 new tracks or whatever. And the same thing they did with Super Mario, or excuse me, with the Smash Brothers Ultimate is like you have a pack of characters rather than just simple cosmetics that you see in a lot of other kinds of
But I
games.
mean,
I would
that's
just be
all
surprised.
like 'cause, like that would be is
Mhm.
like you get character packs and stuff like that. And again, I'm just saying like I would not be terribly surprised. Again, I'm
Okay.
not saying that this will be the case.
Sure.
I'm just saying that like looking at it, I'm like, this one seems kind of poised where it's like you could kind of probably like sneak some of that in sideways,
Hmm.
or like, and it wouldn't be terribly offensive.
Hmm.
And again, I just sort of say this. I think that they're like one of those companies that they do sort of be a little more, or they do have a tendency to be a little more consumer oriented.
Hmm.
And so you would probably see, if they did something like that, you would probably see it done, I don't know, fairly well. Like
Yeah,
it
it's
wouldn't
not quite as
feel,
predatory.
it wouldn't feel as slimy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, listen, it's, you know, but and I make no bones about, like, I've made arguments for that. I don't think that these models are terrible. I know they're not popular. I just don't think they're terrible. Um, but maybe, but the other side of that is like, they're charging $80, so maybe they're saying like, hey, it's where the price is going up, so you don't ever have to worry about us doing this stuff. So,
Yeah,
um,
I just think the closer you get to paying for one-off cosmetics, or hey, pay 50 cents and you can get a mushroom in this game. Not that you were saying that that's what it is. I think the closer you get to that, the more slimy it feels. Whereas I
mhm.
don't think, hey, a pack of new tracks, like, yeah, give us $10 and you get a bunch more content in the game. I think
Mhm.
that's different than just cosmetics, or we'll help you out when you're not doing so hot, which I
Yeah,
don't think Nintendo
they
would ever do.
definitely. I think that, yeah, they would always avoid that. But I would say, like, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be again stunned to see some of that maybe sneak in.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I think it would be done fairly tastefully.
Hmm.
As tastefully as those things get.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, dude, I'm so excited about this. Like, I
It's pretty
want
cool.
one so bad. Like, we have a couple, like, we have a patron game that is on Switch, and I'm
Hmm.
seriously like, if there is any way for me to push that thing back far enough to play it on Switch too, like, that's what I want. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so yeah, I was actually talking to Megan, and it's like, I'm probably gonna get on the overtime list this summer, just
Okay.
because, you know, there are there are things, and we'll talk about it in
Sure.
the episode proper. But yeah,
Yeah, maybe I should start
so,
selling plasma again. Make some extra money on
um,
the side. There you go.
well, we're gonna have two car payments for a while,
Gotcha.
and yeah, and so it's like, we're going on a fairly expensive vacation
Okay.
this summer. We're gonna head down to Miami for a week, and
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Sweet.
So it'll be, yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're
Well,
doing
good.
that for a week, and that's gonna be just pricey. So it's like,
Sure.
it's kind of like,
Yep.
maybe I ought to just hop on. I'm probably gonna hop on the overtime list this summer and just work like a dog for 3 months, and
Hmm.
then
And then the
have
Switch
like
2 will
eight.
be even sweeter.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, maybe I'll just be like, hey, like, some of this is gonna go towards, yeah, but yeah, no, dude, it's so exciting. Like, dude, it is so exciting to see Nintendo not being their weird little isolationist selves,
Yeah.
where they're like, no, we're here to play. Like, dude, Final Fantasy freaking remake
Yeah. Yeah.
is like, I'm like, yo. And so,
Hmm.
like, here's like one of the questions, like, now I'm just like, okay, so what was the deal? Was
Hmm.
the deal like, and it's like, I think this would show some, like, incredibly, like, what if the deal with Square Enix was like, and between Square Enix and Sony was like, hey, it just can't go to Microsoft. And like, Sony was like, we're not worried about Nintendo, because, like, the Switch can't run this
Oh,
thing
that's
anyway. So they
true.
didn't
I
even
didn't
think
think
about
about that.
it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all of a sudden Nintendo's like, hey, we got something that can run that. Hey, Square Enix, let's talk.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
which, like, that's kind of sick. Uh,
Hmm.
but like, yeah, dude, that's so wild, so
Also,
fun.
also, kind of like flanking that is a Bravely Default remaster,
Mm,
out of
yeah.
nowhere. which I gotta admit I was slightly disappointed that it wasn't a 1 and 2 remaster. Like I thought they'd make kind of a compilation.
Or you
Although,
mean Bravely?
oh
Like
sorry, Bravely Default and
on
Bravely Second.
second?
Yes, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. Flying Fairy and Second.
Mhm.
So slightly disappointed, but even in saying that, I recognize Bravely Default is like at least a 60-hour game. You know, like it's huge. Don't
Well,
get
and
me wrong.
I'm hopeful too that there will be some quality of life upgrades to that, because the
Oh,
biggest
that's a
problem
good
with
point. Yeah, are they
that
going to
the
shave
back
down that
half of
section?
that back half of the game gets
Ah,
real gnarly.
yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
I was actually, I was just like, yeah. So
That's a really good
that
point,
would be,
dude. Because
we'll
then
see.
if they do that tastefully, if they can figure out a way to overcome that, I mean, that certainly it would be the definitive edition of the game. But then that takes away like the reason that I don't recommend that game as highly, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I
that
love that game, but man,
if you
it's
fix
flawed.
that, if they fix that,
It's like a 9 out of 10
dude,
game.
yeah, that game's almost a 10. It's like a
10, yeah,
9.5.
yeah.
It's like yeah, dude. That'll
Shoot,
be
dude.
Wes. Like, I love the DM from Wes. He's like, I next year's patron pick, I've already got it figured out. I was like,
I'm here for it, man.
I'm not mad about that.